Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Ear Taxi Festival webinar for our taxi and accent performances. I'm Tim Corpus, and I'm the Executive Director for Ear Taxi Festival. And joining me is our amazing team, and I'll let them introduce themselves. Larab?
Everyone, my name is Larab K. Raphael. I am the Artistic Director for Ear Taxi Festival 2025. Amy?
Hello, everyone. My name is Amy Wertz, and I am the Curatorial Director for Ear Taxi 2025. It's lovely to be here today. Zoe?
Hi, I'm Zoe, and I'm the Managing Director for Ear Taxi 2025. So, first, we're going to have some updates about the festival since the last time we talked to you. We're going to talk through the taxi performances, what they are, and how you can apply for them. Then, we'll talk about the accent concerts, what those are, and how you can get involved, some next steps for the festival, and then we'll have time for question and answer. So, if you have questions, if you can put them in the chat, we will make time for them at the end.
All right. Many of you on this call probably already know about Ear Taxi. Either you participated in it as a performer or a listener. You know that it happened in 2016. It was the brainchild of composer Augusta Reed Thomas and curated by Stephen Burns as well. And then it happened again in 2021. The plans were to have it in 2020, but of course, something happened in 2020 to make it pushed back to 2021, which was curated by Jenny O. Brown and Michael Lewinsky. And here we are in 2021. We are now being a program or presented by New Music Chicago, proudly. And we have a theme. We'll get to that, pretty much anything that you read about Ear Taxi 2025, you'll find that our theme is the composer's voice. We're very excited to have that as our main focus for the festival, focusing on the collaboration and the bringing together of vocal artists and instrumental artists. This festival is really a gem in Chicago's scene. We have so much going on for composers, performers, listeners of all genres of new music. Just as it has happened in 2016 and 2021, we are going to be throughout the different parts of Chicago, north, south, east, and west. We're going to have an expanded festival this time. Rather than packing it all into a short 5 days, we're spreading out over a luxurious 3 weeks. It's going to be October 3rd to 19th. And with programming not every single day, but almost every single day. And on a given day, you might be able to hear 2 to 3 concerts, and then come back refreshed and energized for the next day. We are collaborating with multiple venues. We'll hear more about them later. We are commissioning upwards of 25 composers, probably closer to 35 or even more. We're going to be presenting numerous ensembles, solo artists, and inviting people to speak and providing educational development opportunities for all. Much of this will be free of charge to the attendees. However, we are going to be having anchor performances. Today's webinar is not about any of that. It is about our taxi concerts. So we're going to get into that in a minute. But first, Tim is going to tell us more about the timeline for Ear Taxi.
Yeah, thanks, Amy. So, as you can see here, there's a little bit of information about how we're progressing with the festival. We've had the announcements and the application process open for the Composers Showcase, and we're going to be soon opening for the taxi performances. We also want to make sure that you join us for our very special launch party, which will be at the Riva and David Logan Center for the Arts on October 4th. And Larab's going to tell you just a little bit more about that event.
Yes, thank you, Tim. Hello, everyone, again. My name is Larab. I'm really excited to talk with you about this because I know so many people are very curious about what is happening at the festival. As Amy said, we're going to have some anchor performances, taxi performances, composers showcases, and all of that information, and particularly who will be performing on this festival, will be announced at our October 4th launch event. That's October 4th of this year. We are currently selling tickets, and we highly encourage you to purchase one and be there in the space with us as we unveil some of our key performers and programs of this festival. You don't want to miss it. There are some really exciting opportunities for the city of Chicago, and you should be in the room to witness what will take place. We've got just a little bit over a year before this festival, and we want to drum up some buzz about it. So, again, if you're curious at all about what will take place October 3rd through the 19th of 2025, then I encourage you to buy your tickets now at the link on the screen here, eartaxifestival.com/festival-launch-party to buy your ticket and be in the room on October 4th of this year as we unveil that. I'll turn it over to Zoe now to talk with you about all of our wonderful venues that we'll be collaborating with for our taxi performances.
Yeah, so a big part of taxi performances is that they happen with these wonderful partners throughout Chicago. And so on the screen, you'll see here just a few of our festival venues. So for our taxi performances, we'll be in places like Constellation, Elastic Arts, Epiphany Center for the Arts, and High Concept Labs. And for some of our anchor performances, we'll be in larger spaces like the K. Ryan Center for the Arts and Gons Hall. So if you're interested in getting involved this way, this is just an idea of some of the spaces you might be performing in. All right, and so now Amy is gonna introduce taxi performances and tell us a little bit more about them.
Thanks so much, Zoe. So in the previous festival, 2021, I believe this is very akin to what they called main stage concerts. So if you are a participant of the previous festival, you can kind of relate it to that. We are doubling down on our name, Ear Taxi Festival, and using the name Taxi Concerts for these concerts this year. These are concerts that are fully supported by the Ear Taxi team. This means we will schedule them, we will put them in the appropriate venue. We will also support them financially, and performers will be given a stipend. And of course, all the information about the performers, the composers, the pieces will be part of our marketing, part of our program book, and everything. As you can see, we're going to be selecting between 10 and 20 of these taxi concerts. So that number, those concerts will be spread out over the course of the 3-week festival. And again, we are not planning to book them like maybe, 5 concerts on the same day. We want them to be 1 or 2, maximum of 3 on one day, so that it's very on a human scale and people can come to hopefully all 20 spread out over the course of 3 weeks. We do have some requirements for these taxi concerts. The performers must be Chicago-based performers. I know there are a lot of groups that have a core ensemble that are based in Chicago, and then maybe a couple other musicians that are based in surrounding states. That's also acceptable as long as the majority of the performers are based here in Chicago. We are going to be opening the portal soon. I think that the timeline will be discussed in just a little bit. Oh, there we go. Thank you. Here comes the timeline. So we're providing this webinar now a couple weeks ahead of when the submission portal opens, so that you have all the information you need to prepare your best proposal. We'll open the portal on October 14th, and then let it open for 6 weeks, so you have plenty of time to submit your idea. We'll be announcing who's selected in December. And then I think that actually Zoe was going to tell us more about this timeline. But I just wanted to say one more thing about the taxi submissions, is that we have space in the application for your idea. And so we're really looking for something that you've thought about, something that has a coherent theme, something that hopefully will speak to our theme of the composer's voice. It doesn't necessarily have to include voice. However, we are looking primarily for proposals that do address the collaboration between vocal and instrumental music, as we've stated. I'll turn it over to Zoe now for the rest of the timeline.
Yeah, so like Amy was saying, we're opening these on October 14th, and you can already see a preview of the questions that we're about to review here on the website. So I encourage you to look at that if you have more questions. Then December 1st, that submission portal will close, and in January, we'll tell you who's been selected for that. And we'll talk more about accent concerts later, but that portal will open early in February, and then it will close in late summer 2025, and then we'll have our festival. So that's what we're looking at ahead. So next, Rob is going to start talking us through the rest of the application.
Yes. So as most applications begin, please tell us who you are. Um, Let us know what your ensemble is, what the ensemble type is, and most importantly here, well, there are a few important things here. Obviously, we want to know where in Illinois you're based, provide a website for the ensemble, brief bio of your ensemble or performer. Again, I want to stress that these taxi performances do not have to be, it doesn't have to be an ensemble. We want to hear from artists, from composers, from composer performers, whatever you've got that you think is really compelling. We want to receive your proposal. Most importantly here is that you provide the name of one person that will be the contact for this proposal. So if you are applying as an ensemble, we don't want to like reach out to every single person in the ensemble. We'd like to speak with one person. Maybe that's a director or, a composer. We want to talk with that one person. So be sure to provide us a good contact for someone who will be the point person for this proposal. And yeah, I think we can talk next about the proposed program. Also importantly, as Amy mentioned, we have this theme for the festival, The Composer's Voice. We want to highlight the collaboration between vocal and instrumental music, but that does not exclude anyone who does not have or does not want to propose an idea that does not include the voice. We just want something that is compelling. So give us the title of your proposed program for ETF 2025 and provide details about what you might perform. Even if it's not completely formed, we want to try and get as detailed as we can. So if there are composers that you have in mind, please put them down. If there are pieces you have in mind, please put them down. And then provide a brief description of what this program speaks to. What's the reason? Why did you come up with this proposal and this program? Create your best elevator pitch for us on this page. I'll turn it over to Amy now, who can talk about another aspect of the taxi performances, our microgrants.
Thanks, Rob. Yeah, I'm very excited about this microgrant program that we are implementing this time around. This is to encourage ensembles and performers to play music by Illinois-based composers. So it's a $250 grant, and this is basic, as you'll see as we go through the application questions. It's really a very small box that you check if you are applying. And if you say that you are applying for this microgrant, this means that you are going to be working with an Illinois-based composer for them to write a new piece for you to premiere at the Ear Taxi Festival. So if we go through the list of the bullet points here, the ensemble will receive the money so that we're, just kind of consolidating all our payments, but the money is intended to go to the composer as either all or part of their commissioning fee for this new work. We want to avoid programming composers who are already being commissioned under the Ear Taxi umbrella. This is why we've kind of staggered the timing the way we have. All the composer showcase and anchor performance composers are going to be announced on October 4th. So that's why you got to come to our launch event at the Riva and David Logan Center so that you know who is already being commissioned. And then after that, any other Illinois-based composers are fair game for this program. Um, of course, $250 could be just a small part of what you end up paying the composer. So if you have another grant and you are already doing this ear taxi grant, you can definitely list this as part of the support you've gathered to commission said composer. We definitely want the premiere of the work, however, to happen at Ear Taxi Festival. So if you get the work early, we don't want you to play it early. It would need to be premiered at the festival in order to be considered for this micro grant. And of course, same thing as we've said already, our theme definitely is the collaboration between voice and instrument, but we are not restricting it only to works that include voice and instrumental performers. So if you have an idea, like Laurab said, that's compelling, we definitely want to hear that too, even if it doesn't happen to stick exactly with our theme. I just wanted to say one more thing about these taxi concerts. This is based on questions that I've received. It could be a solo, it could be an ensemble. It also could be a very large ensemble. If you have a chamber orchestra or a big band and you want to try to be a taxi performer, we want to hear from you too. So there's no real restrictions as far as the size of the ensemble.
I'll also just add before we move forward, well, this is fine, but I'll also just add that the program itself is not restricted to Illinois-based composers. We definitely want to highlight all of the wealth of compositions that exist in Chicago by Illinois-based composers, but your program for the taxi performances is not restricted to Illinois-based composers. Just want to make sure that's clear to anyone who might be proposing something. Yeah, so further, is this, yes, this is me, I think. Further, as Amy said, if you want to apply for that micro grant, here is what that questioning might look like. So just make sure you let us know what that you will be applying for it, and tell us a little bit more about the proposed collaboration with the composer, the Illinois-based composer that you might be working with. And here's a good part. If you are making a proposal that includes vocalists or includes the voice, please detail that in your application. Again, I want to emphasize that it is not restricted. The tax performances are not restricted to vocalists. But if you are including voice, we want to know because it's our theme. We want to know if you've worked with this vocalist before and tell us a little bit about your connection to the singer. Further, if you are a vocal ensemble, please do not be afraid of this section of the application. We know that it's a little bit funny to ask, or to, answer these questions if you are a solely vocal ensemble. Just say, yes, our proposal does include voice, and yes, we have worked with these vocalists before, but definitely tell us a little bit about the history of your ensemble when you answer the question, the connection with your singer. I hope that is clear. I'll turn that over to Amy now to talk about proposed program.
Yeah, so as I was mentioning before, what we really want is your clear idea. We have no, how shall I say this? If you can make your case and convince us that it's something that we want to hear, then that's what we're going to be looking for. So this is your time to really go into detail about your dream for this performance. And I'll just share, the best proposals that we've seen are the ones that have an idea and detail exactly how they're going to get that idea across through the course of their concert. I don't know, Laurab, is there anything else that you want to say as far as what we're looking for in this section here?
Yeah, I think I hate to be redundant, but compelling. Really make it compelling. Whatever the idea is, we just want to be drawn into it as it's written on paper before we hear any music. When we read this, let's say somebody's walking into your concert and they're just reading the program details. I want to be super excited about what I'm about to hear. So just make it as compelling as you possibly can. If there's information that you need to share, you need to contextualize, put it all there and we will read it, and let's hope it all comes across. We're excited to receive these proposals, really. So put your best foot forward.
Yeah, and the time to be concise is the previous question with the elevator pitch. That's when we just want like the thumbnail view. And then this one, this proposal here is the time to be detailed and wordy in the best way. Thank you. Zoe, you want to tell people about their work sample submission?
Yeah, absolutely. So, in the background information, we asked for a website, and I'll also just say that if you don't have a website, a link to any online presence is fine. We're asking for work samples, but we want to try to be as inclusive as we can. So if you're an artist whose portfolio is mostly on your Instagram, for example, or some other format, that's totally fine. Just share with us the best like picture of your work that we can get. And so here's just another space to do that. We're asking that you provide one piece of documentation of you or your ensemble, and that it be no more than 5 minutes in length. You have two options for how to share it with us. You can upload an audio visual file, but I'll give the disclaimer here that it does not allow very large uploads. So you may have to work on making that small. Um, or you can provide a public link to these materials, and usually Google Drive or Dropbox or something like that is the easiest way to do that. And just please make sure that it's public and not locked by any means to us, so we don't have to hunt you down to try and get into the link to your supporting materials. If you are encountering problems with this or anything, you can always reach out to us. We're happy to try and help you with that. Awesome. And then here's where we're going to talk about technical and scheduling requirements. So we know that some of you might be working with electronics or special tech, and this is your place to tell us about it. Or even if you think you have an idea about your what microphone or amplification you might need or not need, it would be helpful for us to know, because we also have to consider where folks can fit in terms of venues and what the best fits there are. So this is your space to tell us about that. And if there's anything else you think we need to know about your program's tech requirements, like we have 5 marimbas, that might be something to tell us here. And then the final question here is, are there any dates that you are not able to perform during the festival? So that's just another way that we can kind of go about puzzle piecing all of these performances together. And so now I'm going to hand it over to Amy, and she's just going to talk about our final question.
This one is rather straightforward. We just want to know if you did participate either in 2016 or 2021. And it could be in any capacity, composer, performer, even listener. We are delighted to know how much Ear Taxi has already created a splash in our community and beyond. And so we want to know what part you played in it, if any. I believe we're now moving on to the accent performance. Oh, sorry, we submitted our proposal. Congratulations.
Hey! Yeah, this is just, that's the end. So you will have reached the end of the proposal at that point, which is exciting. And like we said before, we hope results will be out in January 2025. So we will be working hard to let you know then, so you can start getting ready for your performances. And yeah, now we're going to talk about our accent concerts.
Yeah, so our accent concerts are a little bit different than the taxi performances for many reasons, but the main one being that we want to make this festival as robust as possible. Not only is it already 3 weeks long in October of 2025, but we want to extend it for another 2 weeks by providing multiple touch points for our audiences to see the great music that's happening around the Chicagoland area. So if you are an ensemble and you're not particularly interested in being a part of the taxi performances, the accent concerts are where you may fall. If you are planning something for the dates between October 20th and November 2nd of 2025, we want to hear from you. What's your ensemble doing? What is the performance? And we want to promote that during our festival so that we can maybe draw some of the audience from the festival over to your performances. So this is what our accent concerts will be. They're open to ensembles and performers who obviously, as I said, are not selected for the taxi or anchor categories. We will promote them in our program books, on our website, via social media. Again, if these performances fall between October 20th and November 2nd, we highly encourage you to submit to us, which we will talk about how to do that. Yeah, and I guess the other thing is that we want to focus the area around the Chicagoland area. So if you have a performance that is in St. Louis, we probably will not promote that. But if it's in the greater Chicagoland area, we definitely want to hear about it so that we can get some folks out to those concerts.
I want to just emphasize that this is our biggest umbrella, and we're getting the information to you now, you know, with a year and change to plan. And so we're actually hoping that you will plan lots of concerts between October 19th, 19th or 20th until November 2nd. I do want to emphasize also, though, that we would not be promoting any concert that conflicted with one of our other scheduled events. So we're going to have, you know, our anchor performances, the taxi concerts, the composer showcase concerts, and more scheduled pretty tightly with just a few days off between October 3rd and 19th. So really the best time to schedule one of these accent performances is after October 19th. And, you know, the main difference I think that most performers are going to hear is that taxi concert performers will receive a stipend from Ear Taxi and accent concert performers will not. But I also want to emphasize that the accent concerts have a lot more freedom of programming, of venue, of anything else. It's really going to be more like just tell us what you're doing, you know. So you have a lot of room to dream in this one, and our number of accent concerts is going to be much larger than any of the other concerts categories that we have for the festival.
I'll also just add briefly that we want to be a resource to you right now, which is why we're telling you a year in advance that we want to have those scheduled concerts between the 20th of October and the 2nd of November. We can be a resource in terms of where you might find venues, different things like that. So if there are questions about that, we'd be happy to answer them. So reach out to us that way.
And I don't know if we all emphasized enough that, you know, all accent performers will be included in our program book, publicity, lists of performers, things like that, just the same as any other thing. So it's really a very vital aspect of our festival.
Yeah. So one other thing we're working to put together that we're going to be excited to share is like kind of a list of venues that you might want to be in touch with if this is something you're trying to plan. So that will be shared on our website later as sort of a resource as you start planning those things. And we're really excited about that. Because most of those venues will have been prepped ahead of time that you might be knocking on their door asking asking to perform between the 20th and the 2nd of November. So the last thing is just like, how are you going to submit this? So ensembles, performers, presenters, organizations, you're welcome to start submitting those in February of 2025. It will be more like a community calendar submission than an application. We'll just ask you about information about your concert so that it can be accurately reflected in all of our publicity materials. And you'll only be declined an accent concert if you don't really fit in the previously stated things. So the big one is that it conflicts with an ETF event. The other ones would be mostly, again, if it's not in the greater Chicagoland area, definitely if it's not if it's in a different state, then no. And, the umbrella of new music is very broad, but if it's really outside of that, then that would be the only other reason that we would say no to promoting your event. And so those accent concert submissions will close in the late summer of 2025. So we have enough time to get our publicity materials together for our October concerts. And so now Tim is going to talk to us about what happens next with the festival.
Yeah, what is next? So this is a lot of information. We understand that. So we'll be updating the website and adding all of this there for you to prepare for your applications. We'll be announcing a lot more information about the festival in just a few weeks. So hopefully you're with us on October 4th. But if you're unable to join us then, you'll see a lot of that information coming out that following week. We are fundraising to make this festival possible because we are a nonprofit. New Music Chicago is a 501c3. So this is a high fundraising time for us. So if you'd like to be involved in an additional way than being just a performer or a composer, you can get involved by donating or helping our fundraising efforts. And October 4th, in addition to being a launch event and a great party, is also a fundraising event. We are really excited about the amount of music that's going to be happening and the sheer number of artists that are going to be involved. So we're very excited to see your proposals for the Taxi performances. And we hope that you share this information with other artists locally that you know who may be interested. Also professional development. We haven't unveiled that yet, but we will. So because this is a 3-week long festival with a very strong conference presence, there will be a number of events for networking, professional development panels, all sorts of different things. And that information will be coming out early next year. So stay tuned for that, as well as how you can be involved in that. So we have gotten quite a few questions. So please share and keep posting your questions. But I'll ask this first one here. Can a micro grant go to someone who is also a performer?
That's a great question.
Artistic staff answer that.
That is a wonderful question, and I feel like that's probably going to apply to a lot of people. If the performer is part of the ensemble or is going to play with the ensemble and is the composer, I believe that that's acceptable. Yes.
Yeah. I think so. Especially we have several composer performers in the city of Chicago, so we definitely want to be considerate of that. When you do make your micro grant selection on the application, just be explicit about that and let us know how you'll be using the grant in that way.
Another question, and I think this was in regards to what people are uploading, is the documentation of an ensemble supposed to feature works from the proposals?
Not at all. It could be anything. We just want to see you in your best light, or we want to see you the way you want us to see you.
Yes.
Okay. Another question, if an ensemble is a duo, does 50% of Illinois-based qualify as Illinois-based?
I would say yes.
I think they have us on a technicality there where that is really the majority. So yes.
Another question was in regards to defining the differences between the categories. So the differences between the anchor performances and the taxi performances. LaRob or Amy, you want to address that?
Sure. Amy, feel free to chime in here. The way the festival is outlined, the anchor performances have been curated by this leadership team. So we're working with some artistic partners in the Chicago area to create moments for the festival, checkpoints, as if you will, over the course of the 3 weeks. The taxi performances are performing ensembles in the Chicago area who are making a proposed performance to this leadership team, where we will, select those performers and ensembles to be a part of the festival. And then the accent performances, or the accent concerts, are concerts that are happening around Ear Taxi Festival that we want to make sure people are aware of during the festival, so that they continue to see new music around the Chicagoland area even after the festival has concluded.
Or to put it in a nutshell, anchor performances, we've pretty much decided or curated what's going to happen. For taxi performances, you decide, you propose to us what it's going to be, and we decide when and where. we do the scheduling for you, basically. And then the accent concerts, it's pretty much on your shoulders. What you're going to play, when you're going to play, where you're going to play, and we just advertise it and promote you.
Another question is, a taxi performance also eligible, or a taxi performer also eligible for an accent concert?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. The accent performances are more like an open door. As long as you fit those 3 requirements at Illinois, mostly Illinois-based performers, new music, however we're going to define new music, and happening in the Chicago area.
This question in regards to the length of a taxi performance, the question is, for the proposal, is the program limited to 25 minutes in duration?
No. I think thinking about 45 to 60 minutes of music as your max is probably a good idea. Like we said, these are going to be 1 to 3 concerts happening back to back at maximum, mostly the median of like an evening with 2 ensembles sort of back to back at one venue. So, take into consideration how much time it will take you to get between pieces, maybe, because we don't want things to go on for too long if we're going to have another concert afterwards, but it's a bit of a longer program. Yeah.
There was a question regarding the pay scale for the taxi performances, and in the application, you'll see more information about that. So once the application is open, you'll see that, but it does have to do with how many performers are going to be involved with the performance. The other thing that we wanted to note was performers from Illinois. You don't have to just be from Chicago for taxi performances. It is including Illinois. Anything else our team wants to share?
That last one makes me think, just for accent concerts, Illinois-based performers for majority, but Chicagoland area for location, just to be clear. So someone can come from Southern Illinois to perform in the Chicagoland area, but we won't promote something happening way outside of the Chicagoland area. So just so that's clear.
Oh, and I saw this
I
question
want to
regarding
encourage
the anchor
everybody to reach out with
performances.
questions. I think all of our contact information is very easy to find. Oh, there you, so easy to find, right in front of your eyes. And we will definitely do our best to get back to you and answer any questions that may come up, between now and when the portal opens.
Thanks all for joining us, and hopefully you'll join us on October 4th.